Over time, there's been a lot of misrepresentation and miseducation for the Native American population. In the 2010 census, it stated that only 1.5 of the population in the United States is Native American. Now that's seen, and it's around 5.6 million Native Americans, but that includes anyone who could be 100% fully Native American to people who are 50% Native American to the people who are 20% Native American and to the people who are Native American and have in their DNA test, it shows that they're 1.2% Native American. So that's a very generalized idea of the 5.6 million people that are considered Native American, when in actuality, many of the people don't know their tribe's stories, and they don't, it's not even that they live on reservations, it's that the way and the mind and the mentality of Native Americans and their education has been diminished over time and time again. Even today, it still has a lasting effect on many children. So, a little bit of prehistory for the Native Americans. Columbus arrived and changed the population in a way, in the way of life for Native Americans. So, as you know, everyone's heard Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. What they don't say is that he came, slaughtered, and raped many Native Americans and forcing them and showing his dominance onto them. 90% of Europeans would be dead from diseases, starvation, and the conquest that many explorers like Christopher Columbus had. They came over, they brought, they had diseases with them, and they were diseases in the United States that the Native Americans on their land they were immune to because it's their land. Oh, when they started coming over and bringing their diseases, it infected the Native American population, which greatly impacted the diminish and like the loss of culture for them. The surviving children of this would be forced into assimilate into the European culture. Despite all these, Native Americans have had many educational accomplishments, but they've also had a lot of setbacks. The beginning of youth for Native Americans in 1824, the federal government established the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which in a way is it's a very insensitive way of saying Native American, because Native Americans aren't Indian, they're Native American. You don't say, oh, the Indians are running around. They're Native Americans. They're not Indians. They're Native Americans. Which this, even though it's called the Bureau of Indian Affairs, this helped to put them on reservations, a set spot of land that the government dictates that is good enough for them, which in oftentimes it was not. They forced tribes, say a tribe from Tequesta, Florida, to move all the way to the middle of the United States in one of those nobody states. And they're not used to the land, they're not used to the weather, which caused a lot of them to die over time, and it caused them to just lose a sense of who they are. Um, Native Americans became forced and motivated in different ways to move towards their white superintendents, and through agents, teachers, inspectors, missionaries. Indian boarding schools were established to help assimilate Native Americans into the dominant European American value, having respect for property, having great respect for their property, individualizing competition, the European lifestyle, the domestic toll, working very hard, and the European way of standardized dressing, which it makes them lose their culture, because how their culture is how they learn. That's their education. And so what the Europeans believed to be their education was the wrong way to learn. So they dressed in they had different types of animal skins. They had different types of feathers in their hair. They had different piercings and headwear that they would wear that would teach them their culture and teach them new things and experience new things. But to the Europeans and to other people who came and colonized, that to them was not education. So the Europeans came in and stripped away that education for them. According to Carolina K through 12 schools. It's a different. It's multiple schools that do studies on Native American students. It shows that they don't know their culture anymore. They don't have an appreciation as they used to. Not saying that all Native Americans feel like this, but they feel disattached. There's not as much support for them and they're not learning their own culture, their own history. There's a lot of dead languages for Native Americans due to the fact that they have lost their culture throughout time. And also, the religious aspect comes in because before there were all the laws about separating church and state, school and state. You can't have school and state unless it's a private school. There were Carlisle schools in the in 1879, which was the first educational and vocational school. And then there was a Captain Richard Henry Pratt in 1892 who said, kill the Indian in them and save the man. So he wanted to kill the Indian, kill every aspect of who they are, kill the Native American in them, and turn them in to make them assimilate to the European ways. According to Education Weekly, this isn't taught because it's a very harsh truth that a lot of students have troubles dealing with and comprehending. So they take that part out and they say that Richard Henry Pratt came in and taught them new ways, and the Carlisle schools were there to help them, and they could still visit their parents and learn languages. When actually, over time, Native Americans lost their culture, they lost many different aspects of who they were, and they were miseducated on their own culture and their own education. So what the Europeans believed to be right was the only way to be right, and what the Native Americans believed to be right, they were told that that was wrong.